Our journey begins in a time that feels both far away and intimately close, in a world that often rushed, yet in a quiet corner where creativity flowed like a gentle, slow-moving stream. Close your eyes, or simply let your gaze soften, and imagine a man named Richard James. He was an engineer, a person whose mind understood the graceful mechanics of the world, how each piece found its perfect place, how systems moved with a quiet, inherent precision. His days were spent enveloped in a space filled with the subtle, comforting sounds of ingenuity, a workshop where nascent ideas were tenderly nurtured and softly shaped. He moved with a deliberate calm, his presence a still point in a landscape of potential. His breath was even, his steps measured, a quiet rhythm to his thoughtful pursuit. He carried himself with a peaceful dignity, his eyes often reflecting a deep, tranquil thought, as if always listening to the silent symphony of design and possibility that surrounded him. The workshop itself was more than just a place of work. It was a sanctuary of calm. It held the deep, comforting aroma of polished, aged wood, a faint, almost ethereal metallic tang, and perhaps the faintest whisper of clean, refined machine oil, a scent that hinted at smooth operation and gentle maintenance. The light within this haven was perpetually soft, whether filtering in as a diffused, pearlescent glow from the generous windows that overlooked a quietly slumbering city, or emanating from the warm, steady radiance of a single, old-fashioned hanging lamp. This lamp cast long, peaceful shadows that stretched and swayed with an imperceptible breath, creating pockets of deeper tranquility within the space. The sounds were not sharp or jarring, but a harmonious lullaby of diligent, quiet activity, the occasional, almost imperceptible click of a precisely placed tool on a protective felt mat, the hushed, rustling whisper of blueprints as they were carefully unrolled and smoothed flat, and the distant, low, steady hum of faraway machinery, a sound that resonated more like a comforting purr, a gentle heartbeat of the industrial world, rather than a disturbance. It was truly a space where focused thought flourished, where ideas bloomed without haste, and where quiet, profound contemplation was not just permitted, but gracefully encouraged. Richard's dedicated work, his quiet, meticulous craft, often centered around springs. Yet, these were not just any springs. They were specialized creations, designed with thoughtful care for the grand, majestic ships that sailed the vast, deep oceans. These springs carried a profoundly important responsibility. They were entrusted with the task of safeguarding delicate, intricate equipment, ensuring its unwavering steadiness, even when confronted by the powerful, rhythmic undulations of the ocean's mighty waves, which sought to make everything rock and sway. Envision, if you will, the serene image of a gentle cradle, steadfastly holding something incomparably precious, keeping it safe, still, and utterly secure. That, in its very essence, was the fundamental purpose of these ingenious springs. They possessed the remarkable ability to absorb movement, to gracefully transform a sudden, jarring jolt into a soothing, almost imperceptible sway, and to transmute a swift, unexpected shift into a slow, comforting, and deeply rhythmic motion. They were silent guardians of peace and stability in a world of constant motion, their existence a testament to quiet strength and unseen support. Richard's hands moved with a quiet, practiced ease, a kind of muscle memory that was as gentle as a lullaby. On this particular day, he found himself holding a spring. It was a single, coiled spiral of cool, smooth metal, carefully crafted and perfectly formed. As he held it, he might have been studying its subtle tension, feeling its silent resistance, or simply preparing to place it into a mechanism. It was a completely ordinary moment, a routine task, much like the gentle, consistent rhythm of breathing in and out. There was no rush, no hint of urgency, just the quiet, peaceful focus on the work at hand. He could feel the cool, sleek surface of the spring against his fingertips, a smooth and unwavering texture. He could trace the endless path of its coils with a slow, deliberate touch, following the spiral from one end to the other without a single thought to its destination, just the pure, unhurried sensation. The spring itself felt dense and still, a small, quiet universe of potential energy resting in his palm. It was a moment of perfect calm, a small stillness within the larger, peaceful stillness of the workshop, a quiet breath before a gentle revelation. Then, something happened. It wasn't with a sharp, sudden crash, nor with a loud, jarring jolt, but with a gentle, almost imperceptible slip. The spring, perhaps slightly too slick from his touch, or perhaps his fingers had momentarily relaxed in the deep quiet of his concentration, eased itself from his grasp. It was not a violent drop, but a quiet, almost graceful release, as if it had simply decided to continue its journey on its own. It fell from his hand, not straight down in a predictable plunge, but slightly to the side, towards a lower shelf or a small stack of papers. And this is where the ordinary moment became truly extraordinary, in the most quiet and unassuming way. Instead of simply falling to the ground with a dull thud, the spring began to move. It didn't just drop, it walked. End over end, coil by coil, it flowed downwards, a graceful cascade of silent metal. It moved with a slow, hypnotic rhythm, uncoiling and recoiling, each movement soft, deliberate, and almost silent. Richard watched, his attention captivated by this unexpected dance, his mind a quiet observer of this small, graceful miracle. Richard's first instinct wasn't to celebrate, but to simply understand. A profound sense of gentle curiosity settled over him. It wasn't an excited gasp, but a thoughtful hum. He bent down, with a quiet and careful motion, and picked up the spring. It felt the same in his hands, but now it held a new secret, a hidden magic. He gently placed it back on a higher surface. He wanted to see it again. He wanted to truly grasp the peaceful physics of its motion, the way it seemed to flow rather than fall. He repeated the action, watching with the same calm curiosity. Each time, the motion was the same, calming, rhythmic, a quiet spectacle. He tried it on different surfaces, a smooth wooden shelf, a stack of papers, even a few steps of a small ladder within the workshop. The subtle sounds shifted with each surface, a soft clink-clonk on the wood, an even softer shweep as it glided across the smooth papers. The repetition was a soothing, meditative act. As Richard observed the Slinky, he began to realize he was watching a perfect, natural rhythm. It was a rhythm so simple, so reliable, that it became instantly calming. This was the gentle science of harmonic oscillation, a perfect, continuous wave of peace. He compared it to other natural, soothing rhythms, the slow, consistent tide coming in to kiss the shore, the pendulum swinging in a grandfather clock with its reliable, unhurried regularity, or the gentle, steady heartbeat when you finally sink into deep rest. The Slinky carried this same peaceful assurance. When it descended, it moved coil by coil, never failing, never faltering, a silver wave of stillness. Its rhythm told the quietest possible story, a story of perfect harmony between movement and rest, a story that gently slows your own breathing and invites you to sink deeper into the soft comfort of the moment. Richard contemplated the very nature of the spring, its core purpose of tension and release. When the Slinky stretched out, it held a moment of potential energy, a soft, silent breath of readiness. And the moment it gathered itself again, flowing down to the next step, it let out a gentle sigh of complete release. This rhythmic exchange of energy was profoundly soothing. It was the feeling of letting go of worry, only to gather quiet strength again. Imagine the smooth, cool sensation of the metal as it moves, never fast, never rushed, but always fluid. The sound it created, that subtle, whispering glide on the wood, was the sound of energy being transferred perfectly, without friction or noise, just a quiet, fluid transition from one point of rest to the next. It was the physical manifestation of effortless calm. After his quiet discovery, a profound sense of gentle curiosity settled over Richard, not with a sudden burst, but with the soft, unhurried ease of a quiet evening. He began a new, slow project. Instead of just working on the large naval springs, he began to make different versions, smaller, more delicate, and exquisitely refined coils of metal, each crafted with a subtly different purpose in mind. The soundscape within the workshop transformed, softening from the occasional hum of large machines to the almost imperceptible, rhythmic tick, tick, tick of a small, thin wire being meticulously wound, just so, around a slender, polished rod. It was a melody of precision, a gentle chime that resonated only with those attuned to its quiet beauty. He would often pause, holding a newly formed coil delicately in his hands, feeling its subtle weight, the inherent tension held within its graceful spiral, and recognizing the quiet, waiting potential nestled within its perfectly formed loops. There was no sense of urgency, only the patient grace of someone exploring a hidden grove, gently, thoughtfully. As the soft, golden light of the afternoon began to fade, slowly giving way to the deeper, more profound quiet of early evening, Richard carefully gathered one of his specially chosen springs. The day's work had come to a close, and he carried the spring home with a deliberate, unhurried pace. He found his wife, Betty, in their peaceful living space, softly illuminated by the glow of a single, gentle lamp. In this hushed stillness, without a single hurried word, Richard simply showed her what he had discovered. He placed the coiled spring on the very top step of their home's gently curving staircase. With a delicate, almost imperceptible push, he allowed it to begin its extraordinary journey. There was no sudden clang, but only the faintest, most delicate whisper of metal gracefully gliding on wood. And then, the mesmerizing rhythm began. The spring descended, stretching and gathering itself again, over and over, in a slow, hypnotic, and utterly peaceful dance. It was as if a silver river, liquid and luminous, was slowly flowing down the stairs, its endless current coiling and uncoiling with a profound, unhurried ease. Betty watched, her gaze soft and steady, her breath perhaps slowing in sync with the spring's gentle motion. As she watched the graceful, undulating movement, Betty's thoughts began to drift. She thought of a word that perfectly captured the quiet, effortless flow of its motion, a word that felt as though it was made to be whispered. Slinky, as she murmured, the word itself seeming to have a soothing, rhythmic quality, like a gentle, unhurried walk in a quiet garden. The sound of the word Slinky resonated with the visual poetry of the spring's journey, a perfect harmony of motion and sound. And so, in that hushed and peaceful evening, a new name was born, a name as profoundly soothing as the gentle toy itself. Betty's gentle insight was crucial. She saw not just the engineering marvel that Richard did, but the comforting friend the Slinky could be. She felt its cool, smooth metal in her hands, recognizing the absence of sharp edges and the satisfying, grounding weight that made the toy feel safe and reassuring. She imagined the quiet, meditative stretching and contracting taking place on a child's lap, a quiet activity, a gentle fidget, a rhythmic reassurance. For her, the Slinky was a domestic, soothing object, a quiet anchor in a busy life. Her vision ensured that the Slinky would be marketed not as a loud plaything, but as a source of soft, simple, and repeatable wonder, a tiny, metallic therapist designed to gently calm the mind. With the name settled and the purpose clear, Richard turned his quiet focus back to the workshop to begin production. The first manufacturing efforts were not chaotic or loud, but a hypnotic, repetitive process. The simple coiling machine became a gentle, industrial lullaby. We listen now to its sound, not a harsh noise, but a steady, soothing whir, a continuous, rhythmic sound of effortless repetition. The long, shining wire fed slowly, slowly, into the machine, and emerged on the other side as a perfect, restful coil. You can almost hear the gentle scrape of metal on metal as the spring took its final, graceful form, before being quietly stacked, one Slinky upon another, each one cool, clean, and ready to bring calm to a new home. The factory floor was a place of predictable, soothing productivity. When it came time to share their discovery, their approach was as unhurried and gentle as the toy itself. They did not launch with noise, but with quiet conviction. The first official public demonstration was held at Gimbel's department store in Philadelphia, in the hushed weeks leading up to Christmas. Richard stood patiently, placing the Slinky on a small, makeshift ramp, allowing it to perform its slow, graceful descent. People gathered, drawn not by loud salesmanship, but by the sheer, meditative beauty of the Slinky's motion. The soft, rhythmic clop, clop, clop on the wooden ramp seemed to settle the hurried energy of the crowd. They saw not just a toy, but a simple, perfect piece of physics, a moment of unexpected grace. The entire stock of 400 Slinkys sold out in just 90 minutes, a quiet testament to the public's yearning for simple, repeatable wonder. Even the Slinkys advertising was designed to emphasize its peaceful nature. Instead of fast-paced jingles or loud images, early television commercials focused almost entirely on the hypnotic motion itself. A gentle voice would describe the magical way it seemed to float, the rhythmic way it walked, always focusing on the feeling of quiet wonder it created. The narration was slow, soothing, and often set against quiet, minimal music. Its gentle motion was the star, inviting viewers to slow down and simply watch. The advertising echoed the sentiment that the Slinky was not just a toy, but a simple, perfect piece of physics, a moment of unexpected grace. This calm, consistent messaging ensured that the Slinky's brand was forever linked with smoothness, simplicity, and serenity. The Slinky began its slow, gentle journey not just across America, but across the world. Its popularity spread organically and peacefully, carried by the satisfied murmurs of happy customers who simply loved to watch it move. It traveled not on the wings of speed or noise, but on the quiet, steady rhythm of its own graceful movement. It brought calm and wonder to countless children and adults, a simple, perfect antidote to hurried days. Its success was a global testament to the fact that sometimes, the most profoundly satisfying thing is something that moves slowly, gently, and predictably. The world quietly welcomed the Slinky, and the Slinky quietly rewarded the world with a feeling of deep, unhurried peace. This simple coil of metal, born from a gentle slip in a quiet workshop and named with a soft whisper, continues its timeless, rhythmic dance, a soft, silver thread connecting us to that original moment of serenity. It reminds us that the most joyful discoveries often happen not in moments of chaos, but in moments of quiet attention and peace. It has endured as a symbol of effortless, repeatable wonder, a toy that asks nothing of us but our gentle observation. And as you listen to the memory of its slow, peaceful flow down the stairs, let that gentle rhythm, that simple, constant movement, lull your own thoughts into a state of deep, quiet rest. Let the Slinky walk your worries away, coil by coil, until you find yourself resting peacefully in sleep.